So, hello everyone. Welcome to Yoga Tuesday afternoons here at the barn. And welcoming you all, welcoming also the Demoiselles de Rochefort, who I know are joining us, or one of them is. So, welcome. And just if you're coming for the first time, these classes are standalone, and they're for us to begin. But of course, you can use them to deepen your practice. And we've been looking at a general vocabulary around how we come to sense our weight and how that helps us understand the ebb and the flow of the breath, and how those two things remind us and help us to practice near to ourselves. So practicing nearness rather than looking at our bodies or overlining them up on the mat or performing, but rather just quite simply and peacefully participating in something. And of course, when it's a more complex thing and it's more challenging, you want to look and see. But it always needs to be translated into how this is going to work for you. So we've been circling around a whole bunch of standing poses and lying poses and working with the chair and working at the wall. Lots of understanding how flexion extension is the beginning of yoga in a way, because flexion and extension begins to teach us how to lift the upper body off the lower body and begin to articulate the vertebrae and all the tissue. We've then been working through the limbs, what we did last time, the upper limbs. We've worked from the lower limb into the spine or vice versa. So you can see that's how I go. And then there are recognizable poses and not recognizable poses, and unnameable poses and dog poses and so on. So what I'd like to do today, though, is I want to come back to the floor, and I want to come back to something that is also very restful and easy, but it's deceptively deep. So I just want to look at that, at least in the first part of the class, and then I'm not even 100% sure what the last quarter will be. So find your place on the floor. You can see that Henriette's propped something under her head. It's a bit high. Violates all the yogic codes. Okay. So I'm going to get something a little less high. But we've been saying that a book or a folded blanket or a towel can be very, very helpful. If you for both patterns, if you overextend like that, because you've discovered that you like that, or you learned that in yoga or in dance, or if you do what I do, which is sometimes the head drops, or actually even the whole structure of the back, the trapezius and all the other structures of the first two ribs shorten. So both of those patterns can be played with, yeah? But there isn't an ideal. And what the little support for your head does is it helps you negotiate those first moments. So some days I don't need anything, but I was just playing before the class started, and I could feel that my head kind of wants to go this way, and there's something short in here. So then I'm just going to pull on it, which doesn't help anything. So just a little bit of support actually just lets me relax and leave it alone. Yeah. So let's start with legs straight, quite wide. Maybe the feet are 3 feet apart at the end, and the arms are quite away from the sides. And then I just want you to notice what happens in the lower back. So don't stop what's happening. Don't flatten your back. Don't worry about it. But normally when we straighten the legs, we allow the curves of the spine, of the back, of the torso to amplify. So let that curve happen in there. You may feel that the base of your spine, your sacrum, is pressing into the ground. So as long as you're not too uncomfortable, just notice. And then what it does to the chest. Does it pull it down? Does it give you a greater sense of the curve of your chest? So just notice all of that. Just noticing. And there's no correct way to start your practice. You can practice while you're waiting for the kettle to boil or in the shower. You can practice in bed. So just noticing. And as we notice, allow these two great constants to start to be in your awareness. That you are breathing. Don't do your breathing. Don't do belly breathing. Just that you are breathing. Just notice how that is. And that you are heavy on the ground in some way that you recognize. So don't try and second guess me. Yeah. So it might be that you feel very big and heavy in your feet with your heels, or in your bum, or I feel it in the middle of my chest here, or it could be your head, or one side, or one arm. So let your awareness go to where you are heavy, where you register. And again, heavy could be anything that works for you. Heavy, lots of mass, lots of water, the bones are heavy. Maybe you register it, I do, at the place where the surface of your body and your clothes relate to the surface of the world or the ground. Yeah. So I feel that in the middle of my chest. And as I've been talking, I feel a much bigger surface on my right side. And I think that's just my awareness. It feels bigger and heavier, but it's probably not. Yeah. And my whole right leg feels like it's sinking a bit lower into the ground than my left leg. My left leg feels like it's on a little hill, and my right leg feels like it's in a little valley. So that's very rich and very beautiful, and most of the day we're not aware of all these things because we're busy and we're on our phones and we're trying to get to places and get things done. But this richness is there, and it's like the asymmetrical, wonderful richness that we see in nature. Our bodies are the same. They are this wonderful natural landscape, and it's not all straight lines and symmetry. It never was, and it never will be. So your two eyes are not the same size or on the same place in your face, nor are your feet, nor is your perceptual sense of self left to right. Now just notice your arms. You can maybe lift them like I just did and drop them a few times. And then, notice, try to notice how the arm exits from the rib cage, or how the arm comes onto the rib cage. Is it spacious? Is it tight? Is it super floppy? Is it disconnected? So on me, it feels tight, overbound across the front of my body here. And that's something I know, and I'm always playing with, because I know that I could have a bit more room. So just sensing for yourself. You know, we could lift a few more times and drop. And you know, there's something about practicing when you're doing your own practice, about keeping an open awareness. So we let go of having to be driven and do 25 poses and get to another level, which can also be fun. You know, you go for a jog, and then today you're going to try and jog more than 5K. That's wonderful. But in your movement practice, there have to be times where it's more like doodling. It's not driven by all of that time and performance stuff. Just soft, open awareness of self and of space, of the room around you. And the breath, the wave of the breath, this amazing wave of the breath that we rush into shape rather than get to know. You know, we're told very quickly, it should be like this and it should be like that. But really, we should be actually just getting to know how it is, how we do it, how we breathe. Now I'm just wrapping my arms across my chest and I'm just wobbling my chest, my rib cage to my head a little bit. And I'm going to let my arms fold up over my face like I'm taking my shirt off and over the top of my head to the floor and then around on the floor. The arm just above shoulder level, there is a rotation that needs to take place, otherwise you'll irritate the joint. And then I'm going to float up, then I'm going to go across, maybe the other arm on top. Yeah. So something is catching in my right shoulder, something on the front here. So just notice these things, don't rush through. I wobble my head, just going to wait a bit and breathing, very heavy through my legs. Something in my lower back has lengthened and softened, so it's not so curvy and sharp. Neither is better, just noticing. And again, oh, I see. So as my arm goes up over my face, something is catching my shoulder. So I'm just going to lift my shoulder up. Yeah. And my arms go over to the floor. Let them widen. Let the ribs and the arms drop away from each other so that the ribs are heavy. Don't rush through. Notice, notice, notice. This is an amazingly huge movement. We're going to be doing quite a lot of it where the arm moves away from the ribs. And that's what it looks like from the outside. But inside, the tissue of the upper arm is pulling or working with the tissue inside the rib cage. So the antebrachial tissue, all this upper arm tissue inside, all the fascial containers are working on what's possible in the endothoracic space as it becomes that through the lungs and the heart, the pleural bags, mediastinum, and all of this tissue, what my hand is showing, from chest to arm, but inside these pipes and cavities and containers that lead into each other. Then, of course, we have all of that very intricate binding on the front of the spine, behind the sternum, behind the heart. Yeah. So why not make all of that part of your arm? You know, so your lung is part of your arm. Your arm is coming from deep in here. You can make this gesture with your hand just so that you undo the language. You know, we look at a shoulder, we look at an arm, and we go, oh, that's an arm. But functionally and structurally, it's not. It binds into here. And of course, there are bones, but the soft tissue, let's do it on the other side. The soft tissue is primary. It sets the basic texture. Yeah. Arm, armpit, rib cage, pectoral muscles, etc. But inside, we have the deep spaces, let's say, even though there aren't any, that come down, the deep pipes that come down onto the rib cage via clavicle and scapula, but also into the endothoracic space where we have the different layers of pleura where the lungs are, and then the different layers of densities, let's say, around the heart and how the heart sits on the diaphragm. Yeah. So why not have an arm that goes all the way down and becomes diaphragm, which is exactly what the leg does, because the diaphragm becomes the psoas. They're interwoven, which is the deep flexor, and that becomes the leg on the deep inside of the thigh. So you can trace across, like I'm doing, from your left leg across, up through, open your imagination, and out to the arm. Let's do it on the other side. Arm, chest, lung, heart. Think soft, visceral, very intelligent river, groin, leg. Just hang out for a minute and take that in. You don't need to understand, you don't need to understand the river, you just dive in the river and have a swim. You don't need to understand, you definitely don't need to believe me, just have fun. You know, these are real connections. Yeah. Okay, now, how are you doing, Henriette, over there?
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I realize I'm lying down quite a bit. I'll move around in a minute. So let's bend the legs. Bend the legs and plant your feet. The upper body is still the same. The arms have opened up into a bit more of a star. So when you bend your legs, the curve of the lower back is different. The tensions change. Let's wobble the head. Okay, so we're going to let the legs, don't rush over, but I start to rock my legs. They both go to the right, they both go to the left. And I want to involve my feet, so you can see that my feet, my toes are moving, my feet are awake, and I'm allowing the feet to rock. Of course, the legs can rock quite far without the feet leaving the ground, but that creates different pathways. And today, just let it relax. So the feet roll onto one edge, and then they roll onto edges on the other side of the foot, and the legs begin to rock. And you feel that you're rolling through the pelvis, and some kind of rolling motion is coming up the spine. And easy. But if you do it in an unmechanical way, and you're kind of pushing a little from your feet, so there's a push from an awakeness from the feet coming up into the spine, you actually activate all the little connections, all the tiny little bridges of muscle going up through the spine. And you start to have this bend, this side bend spiral, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful. And so we go, and then, so eventually your leg, so when I go to the right, it's my right leg, it's on the ground, and then my left leg. And you can see that I can give a little push with my feet, and I can go a little further, and it travels up to the armpit, which is where we're going. A little further, the arm can come off the floor a little bit, a little further, and then watch my arm. I let my arm kind of line up with my leg, like we just did earlier when we were touching. So I let the arm comes off the floor, I let it roll a bit, and I feel, you can always touch, I feel this pathway from right leg on top all the way to right arm down the right side. Yeah. Touch your ribs, it's really interesting. Then I come back, as I come back, my right arm lands. I roll through, there's something still funny in my right shoulder, somewhere in my ribs. Now my legs have rolled to the right, my left leg is on top. My left arm is coming up. So let it roll a little, roll, so the palm rolls towards the hair rather than the feet. And again, you have this long diagonal down. Use your feet. Let yourself feel into that. Yeah. And come back. And the legs are bent. And just notice what's different with the breath. Yeah. So let's let the legs go to the left. And the right arm is going to roll and do what we just did before. Now, just add your right leg. So you make a long diagonal from the right leg all the way up into the right arm, across the right side. So that's it. It's a diagonal and it's a twist. Yeah, that's nice. And then you can, how are you doing up in here? Good? Yeah. Then, huh? Yeah. So always start on the good side. And then you, by moving your arm, you can see me here, you can be, when you're here, the palm faces up. But as you go along, it's right here, you see the shoulder, the elbow starts to come up. So if Henriette continued, that would irritate here, where the humerus and the acromion meet and all of that bony signature needs to do something. So the arm will naturally roll, and very often you'll need to lift it a bit, but that really depends on, yeah, that's nice, huh? On your tissue. And then, so here you are with your arm now. Open your fingers, just quietly, so you're kind of radiating out. Yeah, easy. And then with your leg, you can be rested on the floor, or you can start to reach it. Yeah, and you go that way. And then your arm and your leg go away from each other. Yeah. Yeah, this can, is it comfortable? See, this can stay here. This can stay here like that. And you reach and you open. So it's like reverse triangle pose. That's enough. You can stay kind of there, yeah. And you open. Yeah. This is how you tell that a chicken is well cooked, right? You pull on the leg, and if the leg comes off, it's ready. So I'm pulling, it feels ready. So then you slowly come back. So you just let your body recoil back. Yeah, bend the knee, let the arm land. Yeah, and just feel where you are. Feel where you are. That's nice. And you don't need to tidy it all up. If you rush to tidy it all up, which is what I do, you walk over all the natural things. It's like doing that in a garden. You know, you rush out there and you've missed a whole bunch of amazing things that are going on. So don't, you know, just settle. And then we're going to go the other way. Take your time so the legs roll, the feet are awake and aware. You don't need to be perfectly lined up. That's it. They go. Yeah. And both sides are always going to be different. So notice, you know, and if you have an unpleasant sensation, it doesn't mean it's bad what you're doing. Just notice it. Notice it. So I'm going to follow you. This arm is going to travel up. That's it. You see, immediately the elbow wants to come up. It's much sooner than on the other arm. And the arm comes up off the floor. Yeah, is that comfortable to be there? So, yeah, so I would challenge it just a little bit, you know, just challenge it a bit. Do you feel? So the arm and the ribs are going to move away from each other simply because the arm is heavy and because you're letting a quiet little reach travel out through all the way out the fingers. Yeah. Is that okay? So, yeah. That's it. And have a couple of breaths. Yeah, have a couple of breaths. I'm just lifting from behind. Yeah. And then when you want to, you start opening that leg. Yeah, hang out there for a bit. Yeah. Wobble your head every now and again, because you might be surprised. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then reach with your leg a bit more and reach with your arm, and remember the different variations of angle of where things are is, you know, part of the play that you can have. Or if you wanted to rest it on something, that just changes the dynamic. It's all very good. Yeah. And just take your time to finish that second side. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually more here than in the arm.
More in the lower chest. Yeah, yeah, you see. But a while ago it would have been much more up here. Yeah. Okay, so let's just integrate that. Definitely get up, you know, if too much on the floor, you know, just get up. But otherwise, we're just going to let the arms come up and drape them across. Drape them across, kind of reach as far across as you can to your shoulder blades. And widen the hands and just appreciate all of that landscape back there, shoulder bladey landscape. Wobble the head, wobble the chest. Just have a bit of a wobble. Okay, arms go up. And then we're just gonna, we've done this before, we're just gonna rock the legs and the arms. You can watch me for a minute. Yeah, okay. But we're not doing this. We're not doing this like this. This is a more kind of Bauhaus kind of dance, which maybe we can investigate another time. But we're not doing that. We're just kind of rolling. It's the legs rolling or the arm reaching. And you know, probably the legs go and then the arm follows and then the arms come back and the legs go and the arm. Yeah, and then you can accelerate. And you can kind of pretend you're throwing, or you can throw air. So you can, and you can, ha, 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 and come back. And let's go back into that, just that simple starry thing. Straight legs, arms out, support to your head if you need it, and just notice what's changing. Weight, the breath. Remembering, allowing the members to all come back together again, to get connected or to start talking, remembering. Let's just wobble the head a little, soften inside the mouth, soften behind the eyes, maybe swallow. It's kind of impossible to slow down and move, or even to speed up and move, without the mood, the middle brain starting to change and shift and memory, and we're not that separate. So very often when we practice, you take time to go for a walk or a jog or to cook slowly in the kitchen or to do your yoga. And then we sometimes we really remember, and we may be integrating something. Oh, that's what was that, why that thing irritated me so much. Or, oh, this is what's really got me energetic today. So maybe at the time when it happened, we didn't have time for it to come to the surface, because that's how our body image works. Information is not always coming to the surface all at the same time. But when we practice, this does happen, and it's really marvelous, and it's really physical. It's not just a thought. It's really the triune brain working and washing you with your own life, your own information, and it's all perception and movement. Every perception is a movement. It's a very real thing. It's not just something in your head. Wonderful. Let's fold the legs up. Yeah, and then let's catch the back of the knee with each hand. So this really depends on the shape of your body part. So I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to hold each back of knee with each appropriate hand, and I'm going to rest my elbows on the floor. So I'm not working like this with my elbows off the floor. Yeah. If that doesn't work, you can immediately go and grab your hands, or you can use a belt. But I'm not going to grab my hands right away because it's pulling my legs together too early. So I'm just going to leave it a bit wider and kind of floppy and loose. So elbows on the floor, hands behind the knees. And I'm I'm letting my arms and hands do the work. So I'm noticing, that's what the wobbling and juggling is about. I'm noticing that I'm letting go of the flexor and adductor pathways and the butt pathways that are holding my legs in place, like that. All of that would be holding my leg, otherwise it would fall. So I take with my hands and then I set it up and I joggle a bit so that I'm letting go, and I can feel that, and it's very nice. Yeah. And my tail, I let the end of my spine, imagine that it's very long, coming out of my bum and out of my trousers on the floor. And as I do that length, I allow myself to imagine that my head bones are growing into antlers. So I'm letting my bones grow from head to tail and from tail to head. Yeah. So I'm letting the axial river, the bony, visceral pathway that goes up and down from head to toe, to get long, to be awake. Now I'm going to let my right leg drop to the floor, slightly turned out, and I'm just going to let it slide down. And I'm not going to be too tidy with my left leg. It can stick out a little bit. And I'm just going to let this leg travel out. And I can put my hand on my groins. And I just wait. I wait. Don't look at it as if you're looking for straight lines and things. Don't just be inside your leg and this connection we talked about through inside, and let it, and then I'm going to come back and just let it grow in your imagination. You don't need to line it all up and be wondering if you're doing the right thing. This one goes out. You may have to let go a lot like this. You may be here. You may be folded down a lot more than me. It doesn't matter. The more you pull down, usually the more the leg at some point needs to come down to the side of the body. So you don't need to overdo that. Great, and then I'm going to come back. And now I'm going to connect my hands. Or use a belt, yeah. Now, your sit bones may come up off the floor a little bit. That's fine. but at the same time, try to feel that your bum is heavy. So you're not holding yourself like that. Try to feel that the sit bones and the tail are heavy on the floor. You can, and of course, the more you pull your knees towards you, the more you will pull all of that up, depending on the shape of your spine. So you can give a little bit in the arms and just let that be. Let that be. The breath, the weight, just being nearby, being with yourself. The length of the tail, the growth of the antlers. And again, I'm going to let my right leg lengthen, but this time I'm going to put my hands over my kneecap. You don't need to pull too strongly towards you because that will impede the leg from dropping away, the right leg. But, you know, just hold it. Yeah, and then this time I can joggle the bended leg a little bit from side to side, as if I wanted the big upper bone of the leg to slot better into the pelvis. Some people feel a discomfort in the groin, a bony discomfort. Don't accentuate that. It's not deadly, but it has to do with the bony shapes of the things encountering each other and how deeply the head of the femur goes inside the little cave, the acetabulum. So just joggle. And you know, there are so many places you can rock from side to side. You can rock more down towards your knee. You can rock more up towards your belly button. Very, very interesting. Each of those little changes of angle are increasing the continuity and connection of leg to pelvis to torso. Yeah, so joints. A joint is there to differentiate that part from that other part, so movement can happen. It's differentiation being it makes a space. It articulates something. But as much as we differentiate and separate, or what in yoga we call lengthen, we are also allowing continuity and connection. So these are two principles that are always talking to each other. We lengthen and separate and make spaces which don't exist in the vacuum of the body, but we feel they do. And at the same time, we are actually increasing continuity so that whether things are very close or very far from each other, the body is registering continuity, communication. Yeah. Great, and I'm going to just plonk my foot on the floor, bring my other leg up, notice what's changing, and then I'm going to bring both legs up again, and again I'm going to connect my hands behind. Going to let my left leg slide on the floor, put both my hands around my right kneecap. And these little wobbles are foundational to understanding, to learning, to discovering, and to remapping. Remapping all these little joggles and wobbles. Yeah. I can bring the knee across more towards my belly button, so more up, or across more towards my knee, so more down. That's doing all sorts of different things. the breath, the weight, and letting the leg lock. And the leg comes up, so both legs are bent. Just have a moment just to see where you are. Yeah. So you probably will notice that relationships, some of them have eased, others have woken up or are stronger or clearer. I feel much longer in my lower spine. And as I've said at other times, if you're uncomfortable lying on your back, so we're going to move now, but you know, you can always put something under your lower back, something under your knees, something under your neck. So we're just going to roll over onto the side. Just roll over onto the side and just take a moment just to let yourself be there. Let your belly be heavy. Yeah. And we're going to come up. We're going to come up. And you're just going to sit with your legs wide. Just going to move that cushion because I can't see the clock. How are you, Henry? Good. Okay, so you might want to use the blanket or another mat. You might want to get a blanket or a cushion to sit on. Like that. Yeah, so if you're not sure why we're sitting on something, you don't need to use it right away. You can just, have it nearby, this. Then you want to go back with your hands so that you're leaning back, your legs are wide open. Yeah. And then we're just going to joggle the legs and feel in. So we were playing with this diagonal. So this is still there, thank God. And the legs are dropping off. And the wobble helps you to feel, to be with and to get to know this thingy we call a leg and this thingy we call a belly or a trunk. So, movement sometimes is also lovely because it's not verbal. It's just warble. Yeah. Okay. Then we're going to walk up with our hands. So the hands up with our torso and closer with our hands. So the hands are coming up. So you will probably notice that as you get more and more vertical, you can look at me. If your spine and your legs don't know what to do, you'll start to shorten as you try to get up more and more up. And then you'll end up here, and we don't want to end up here and have to work from here. And that's what the seat is for. Because the seat, by lifting you up, helps you deal with that, helps you come out. Yeah, you feel that, right? So we come up and we use the seat to get up on top as much as is right for you, without feeling that relationship which we want to work on, which does get all short because we sit and computers and screens and phones. We want to be able to kind of lift ourselves up. So play with that. What I do is I get on my knuckles like that. And then when I'm kind of almost vertical, and then I just play with the feeling that this is very heavy. I feel my sit bones and my bum, and my legs are very heavy. And then I'm kind of lifting my torso, but not uprooting my sit bones and bum. I'm lifting my torso up and over, and I'm rocking and I'm exploring and learning. Don't worry about, having to go forward and putting your head on your knees. Play with this being able to lift up and to come forward. Yeah, this is a foundational education to the lumbar spine, these structures, which are very powerful, and the organs on the front. Being able to lift up, and then I can see on Henriette, you can widen your legs more. Then you'll begin to notice that you're coming forward and through more than being here like this, that you've started to actually come up and over and over and over that way up. And you can, on your own, play with how high. You can go very high with the seat, and you'll be very surprised how it starts to undo this tight setting of the hamstrings and the adductors. You probably can feel some of these adductors pulling in your inner thigh. Yeah. And if you rush in and traction and frighten, the body will just tighten. Yeah. So we've come up and we're kind of coming forward. Oh. Lots of length coming up to the head bones, up and out. Forward, yeah, forward. Okay, and then we're going to put one hand on the belly, one hand on the back. Don't be too long if you needed the support. And just swipe up with your hand, right up, and lift the arms and come forward a bit more. Yeah. And then come back. That was good. You see, just a little more, Henriette, and then it would start. Just that's it. So then we're going to bend one leg in. So in yoga, there's two big variation pathways for the one bended leg sequences. This is part of the sequences called Janu Sirsasana. If you're doing it with very wide knees, and that's what we want to do. We want to get as wide as possible. The other pathway is to make a very short, almost right angle thing, which is going towards another thing, Mahamudra. So we're just going to make it very wide as you can. So that's going to go as wide, that's going to go as wide as you can. I'm actually going to turn a little, so I'm facing the camera. Yeah, so the foot comes in as far as feels appropriate for you, comfortable, wide. If your knee bothers you, the knee of the bent leg, you shouldn't proceed. So even a mild discomfort is not good. What you want to do is roll up a sock and put it inside here and lift and open. We've looked at this in depth in some of the classes. So you want to get in there and have that opened up by a support. If it's hurting, normally that's where it hurts. Okay, so we're wide. Yeah. And again, just feel the base, feel that you have time to drop, but also that you have time to drop that way, which for me is not easy. It's a very old thing, very, very old thing, this shortening. So you want to drop this way, down, but also you want to have the feeling that you're dropping away. Yeah, and touching and leaning a little bit really helps you to feel that. Yeah. And then this one wants to drop that way towards the back. So you don't want to pull it in like my hand is showing that way. You want to have the feeling that it can drop back. So you can put your hand there and just gently drop it down and out. Don't force anything. Yeah. fact, there's a very rich relationship between doing and sensing. And for me, I think that's what the very heart of what asana means in the Sanskrit. Asana is a pose or a position that you can be in, stay in with steadiness and ease. So there is a doing and a sensing. A doing and a sensing. Okay, so we're just going to turn towards that leg, the straight leg. That keeps opening out. I'm going to turn and I'm going to kind of lift in order to turn. So I'm not going to go down because I won't be able to. We're still doing that, lifting in order to turn. So I'm using my back hand to lift. Yeah. Yeah. And then what I do, if it's helpful, go ahead. But what I do is I take my hand and I pull my sit bone back. So I just make sure of the straight leg. I just make sure that I'm not tucking and squeezing, because we do. So I put my hand back there. I find the sit bone. I put my fingers in my pelvic floor and I pull the sit bone back. Yeah. And I put it back down. You'll notice it's quite a different thing. And then this is the other sit bone, the heel. And I try not to let the shortness of all pull it kind of in like that, but I open it up. So I flex, I open it up and I put it back on the ground far, there, far. Yeah. So then I have this length back, sit bone to sit bone. And I'm lifting and I'm keeping that leg from rushing in with me. And I'm just long and up with my antlers and my head direction and the branches growing out of my head. And then I've turned and I'm just lifting and leaning. Don't get caught into going down with your head towards your knee. It's not so helpful in the beginning, and it's also very worrying to the sacrum. You wanna come up and go forward. Yeah, that looks great. And of course, the inner thigh will, wake up. You'll feel it very strongly. Great. And we come back. So keep your sense of humor and patience as we do the next one, because it's easier if I could come around and help each of you. But what we want to do, so we've turned and we've gone, but now what we want to do is something much deeper, but actually much more natural for the lower back. So instead of going down that way, and of course, you can lie all the way on your foot if that's easy for you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn as if we wanted our backs to lie on the leg. Yeah, so don't freak out. Don't run into the kitchen and open the fridge. So you turn this way, you turn your chest away, and watch my arm. I let my arm slide down on the inside of the leg, and you're going to feel your body pulling away, but just hang out there. Don't bend like this, do you see? But watch me. You want to lift the body and turn it. You want, just like we've been doing, you want to lift and turn. And it's marvelous and very, very safe. Yeah. Lift and turn. You can press up your arm against your leg a bit. You can look down at your foot, but also up. Lift and turn. And then if you want to lift the other arm, if that's helpful, or lift and turn. That's it. So, that's what osteopaths do when they adjust your sacrum on the right side. That's what they do. They push it back and then they give it a thrust. We don't need to do all of that. But if you don't lift and you do like this, you know, this just leads to grumpiness and irritability. You want to lift, and turn. Just even if it's a millimeter, have fun. Have fun. Lift and turn and open and open. Yeah. And letting your sit bones root and letting your head fly and letting the torso turn and having a smile. And that's great. Yes. And come back. And just notice. Yeah. Not only will that side or the other side feel very different, but also the space around you will feel different. And the way the breath comes and goes. Okay, so we're going to change legs. So quite wide, and then it comes in. I'm moving and I'm looking for my sit bones. You know, yeah, so I'm not watching the outside shape. That's the thing. You have to come away from watching, and you're always building your house on rock and taking time to map and to see how the garden is growing. And yeah. Then we can take the hand of the long leg and grab the sit bone and pull it back. And we can inch away with the heel. And this is dropping. Yeah. And this is dropping and dropping back. And this is why Vanda Scarabelli was always reminding us that we're not pulling and pushing the shape. It's a much more organic, gravitational thing. Rooted in the heels of the pose, the body undoes and does something new on the wave of the breath. And we're not watching from the outside and applauding. We're in the river, you know, we're swimming in the river, and to our great surprise, new things are being discovered and happening. Yeah. So we're lifting, and we're going to turn towards the leg, lifting with the fingertips. Yeah. Touching, whatever you need to drop. So remember, resist going down. Getting your head on your knee is not the point. That's a great way to hurt your back. You're actually lifting and turning. That's the only way those lumbars are going to turn, is if you lift. They can't. They're built to lock into themselves like this. And if you drop your head, you're actually making the sacrum on the left side start to do something that it's not biologically happy to do. So don't, just keep lifting and grow your branches or your halo or your antlers that way. Yeah. You can be deeply inside your body, or you can be looking out the window. Both are body. And turning, and you're waiting for this to drop, and to lengthen. Yeah. These adductor hamstringy parts here, they become so short tonally. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes we're not aware that this is acting here, the quadriceps. So you just put your hand back again, just let it come down, and then you're letting that lift. Roots, breath, great. And now we're going to go the other way. So we're going to lift, and counterintuitively again, we're going to drop. So we're not going down. Put your arm there so you have a sense of where you are. And then you're lifting. I find it very helpful to do this. I'm lifting my ribs, I'm lifting here. I'm lifting. I'm going that way with my head. It's the via negativa of St. John of the Cross. We're going away up to the sky in order to get to the floor. And the more I lift, I notice I can turn, rest or wait, breathe, find your roots again, find your lift, and then another bit of turning can happen. You can add the arm, so I'm back to that funny shoulder thing, which I don't know what it is today, so maybe I'll put my arm here. And lift, lift, roots and breath, and let's make a rotation. Yeah, very nice. And come back. And come back. And just have a moment to lie on the floor as we close. So you're welcome to stay on the floor in your own homes or wherever you are. But I wish you a good rest of the week, wonderful practice.